This is Tony with Earth Files Earth History, and recently I ran across an article that was published in 2017 by the Register, which is out of the UK. And in this article, it talks about the time that Rosetta was flying across the surface of Comet 67P and a gas plume erupted. This article is a perfect example of scientific disinformation. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at some of the data on this gas plume, and then I'm going to process this image and see if the image matches the data. I'm not going to read all of the article. I'm just going to read the main parts of the article. And it says right here that a fountain of dust erupted out of a hole and spewed all sorts of stuff into space. As luck would have it, Earth's Rosetta probe had 5 instruments trained on the fountain as it started to blow. Better yet, the probe flew through the plume of comet stuff that resulted. And then it goes on to say the paper, now the paper is where they got this information from, says the plume originated from a 10-meter high wall around a circular dip in the surface and continued between 14 and 68 minutes. The event saw between 6,500 and 118,000 kilograms of material ejected. It says there was more dust than ice. It also says that the evaporation of ice alone can't explain the energy required to shoot lots of dust into space. Now, we're going to go to the image. I'm going to start the process, and I'm going to meet you on the other side. Now it's obvious that this is not a gas plume or any type of eruption, but sunlight reflecting off of this highly reflective metal that this space platform was built with. And when it collapsed, this didn't collapse with it, and neither did this structure here, for the fact that this is probably part of the main structure that all of these components were built on to construct the space platform. So what happened, let me see if I can find the correct image. So what happened was, what you're looking at now, it looks like a dirty rock, and it's not. It's just this space platform is deteriorating, and it's covered with millions and millions of years of dust. If it wasn't covered with dust, we probably would find that this whole space platform was made with a highly reflective metal like this structure is, which would make sense, because when you send something into space and it has compartments or sealed compartments in it, it will overheat. So the reflection from the metal acted like a mirror, and it probably reflected 90 to 99% of the sunlight. That way they can control the internal environment, the heat, and the cooling inside of this space platform. Our next image of 67P is going to be of this bright spot, and this is called a gas jet outburst. But before we take a closer look at it, we're going to look at a diagram on how it's formed. And of course, the surface material, the dust and everything, they claim is frozen. And then underneath the surface, a sinkhole forms. But the surface material stays intact. And then once the sun hits it, it melts, falls down into the sinkhole, heats up, and comes out as a gas with dust and other surface material. So now we're going to go back. I'm going to process this image and see if this information is even close to what we're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and start the process, and I'll meet you on the other side. With the image being enhanced, you can tell now that the diagram that showed how these gas jets outburst are formed is wrong, because if there was ice in this dust and debris on the surface, and this sinkhole underneath it collapsed, and this surface remained because it was frozen, once the sun hit it, it would have all collapsed in there. The reason that you have that looks like jet outburst is because this part of this space platform had collapsed into the lower chambers. And because the lower chambers have been sealed off and not exposed to an environment, the metal is still highly reflective, and that's what's causing these what looks like jet plumes. And you can see where the material hasn't completely collapsed into the lower chamber, and then here's a piece of material that's sticking up off the surface. So these two images that I had just presented to you, the scientific information is completely wrong, which is done on purpose. It's all scientific disinformation. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Tony with Earth Files, Earth History, signing out.